They say revenge is a dish best served cold. Well, I let mine freeze solid for 30 years. My name is Margaret Rose Patterson, and I've lived 72 years on this earth. Most of them have been good ones, raising 3 children, teaching, Sunday school, volunteering at the library. I believed in kindness, in giving people the benefit of the doubt, in family, above all else. My great-great-grandmother, Emma, brought a single strand of pearls with her when she immigrated from Ireland in 1892. They weren't perfect. They were natural pearls, each one slightly different, some cream-colored, others with hints of pink and silver. Emma had sewn them into her coat during the crossing, her most precious possession. Those pearls saw our family through the Great Depression, 2 world wars, and countless personal struggles. They were passed down from Emma to Ruth, then to Catherine, then to my mother Mary. Each woman wore them on her wedding day and passed them down with stories of love, loss, and survival. When my mother died in 1987, she pressed those pearls into my palm with trembling hands. "Margaret," she whispered, "promise me these will go to one of the girls, Sarah or one of her cousins. Keep the tradition alive." 30 years ago, I was 42, and my granddaughter Sarah was turning 10. Her mother, Linda, was struggling as a single mom, working double shifts just to make ends meet. My husband James had finally gotten a promotion at the steel mill, and for the first time in years, we had a little breathing room. Sarah spent summers with us, and I'd teach her to bake apple pie, tend the garden, and listen to family stories. She loved hearing about the pearls, always asking when she'd be old enough to wear them. "When you understand what they mean, sweetheart," I'd tell her. For Sarah's 10th birthday, I made my decision. I took the pearls to Muller's Jewelry to have them restrung with fresh silk cord, bought a special jewelry box with a little ballerina, and wrote Sarah a letter explaining the history of our family treasure. The birthday party was perfect. Sarah opened gift after gift, but I waited until the end when it was just family around Linda's kitchen table. I pulled out the white satin jewelry box and watched Sarah's eyes light up. "Are they real?" she breathed, seeing the pearls nestled in ivory satin. "Real as rain, sweetheart," I said, fastening the clasp around her neck. "These belong to your great-great-grandmother Emma, then Ruth, then Catherine, then my mother. Now they belong to you." Sarah touched the pearls reverently as I told her the stories. Emma's journey from Ireland, Ruth's prayers during the pandemic, Catherine's vigil during the war. Sarah hung on every word, asking questions, making me repeat her favorite parts. "I promise I'll take good care of them, Grandma," she said solemnly. Linda watched with tears in her eyes. As James and I left that night, she hugged me tight and whispered, "Mom, that was the most beautiful gift anyone has ever given her." I drove home feeling like the luckiest grandmother in the world. 2 weeks later, Linda called me at 7 in the morning, her voice sharp with panic. "Mom, I need to talk to you. I'm bringing Sarah over right now." 20 minutes later, Linda's car screeched into my driveway. She got out like she was going to war, face flushed with anger. Sarah trailed behind, head down, hands in her pockets. "Mom?" Linda said without preamble. "Sarah says she can't find the pearl necklace." My heart dropped. "What do you mean?" "I mean it's gone. Vanished. She tore her room apart looking for it." I knelt to Sarah's level. "Sweetheart, when did you last remember having it?" Sarah glanced at her mother, then mumbled, "I don't remember having it at all." The words hit me like a physical blow. "Sarah, what do you mean?" "You wore it at your birthday party. We talked about Emma and Ruth." Sarah looked up at me with something cold in her 10-year-old eyes. "I don't know what you're talking about." Grandma. You never gave me any pearl necklace. I looked at Linda, expecting her to correct Sarah. Instead, she crossed her arms and fixed me with a stare I'd never seen before. Mom, are you sure you actually gave Sarah those pearls? Because she has no memory of it. Linda, of course I'm sure. I restrung them. I bought a jewelry box. I wrote her a letter. What letter? Linda interrupted. My mouth opened as I realized my mistake. In my excitement, I'd forgotten to put the letter in the jewelry box. It was still on my dresser at home. The letter is at home, but I wrote Sarah about the family history. Mom, Linda said with the patient tone you use with someone losing their grip on reality. If you'd given Sarah something that valuable, don't you think I would have noticed? She was wearing them when I left. You saw them? I saw her playing dress-up with costume jewelry. I thought it was pretend pearls. The accusation was unmistakable. She thought I was either having memory problems or lying. Linda, I would never lie about something like this. Stop it! Linda's voice cracked like a whip. I am so tired of you trying to buy Sarah's affection with elaborate stories and expensive gifts we can't reciprocate. And now you're making up stories about family heirlooms when your guilt trip backfires. Guilt trip? Linda, what are you talking about? The ballet lessons you offered that I couldn't afford. The fancy parties that make mine look shabby. Playing generous grandmother while I work 3 jobs. Where was this coming from? When had my love been twisted into weapons against her pride? And now this, making up stories about giving away your mother's pearls. I am not making this up. My voice rose despite my efforts to stay calm. Sarah, please, tell your mother the truth. Sarah looked at me with something like pity. Grandma, I think you might be getting confused. Sometimes old people mix up what really happened with what they wanted to happen. Old people. The word slapped me across the face. I am not confused, I said, shaking with hurt and anger. I gave you those pearls 2 weeks ago. Enough. Linda grabbed Sarah's arm. We're leaving. I won't let you upset Sarah with these fantasy stories. They left me standing in my living room, shaking. Through the window, I watched their car disappear, taking with it not just my granddaughter, but my reputation and dignity. Over the following days, I called Linda's sister Carol, hoping she could help. Instead, Carol's voice was careful, diplomatic. Mom, Linda told me about the confusion. She's worried about you. Maybe see Dr. Martinez? Carol, I am not confused. Maybe you're remembering it differently than it happened. I hung up on my own daughter. By the end of the week, the story had spread through our family like wildfire, twisted beyond recognition. I was the grandmother having episodes, claiming to give away valuable jewelry, and then accusing a 10-year-old of lying. Every phone call to defend myself made things worse. My own family looked at me with concern, pity, and doubt. The isolation was suffocating. Linda stopped bringing Sarah to Sunday dinner. At church, they sat across the sanctuary and left immediately after service. Sarah wouldn't even look at me. Went to Dr. Martinez for every test imaginable. Everything came back normal, but Linda just said, "Early dementia doesn't always show up on tests, Mom." Years passed. I watched Sarah grow up from a distance. Graduations from the back row, birthday parties as a peripheral figure. She was polite but cold, the warmth gone from our relationship. I became a ghost in my own family story. For 22 years, I carried that wound. Some days it felt lighter. Other days it threatened to drag me under. After James died 8 years ago, I threw myself into volunteering and church work. Anything to keep from dwelling on what I'd lost. But I never forgot those pearls. 8 years, Ago, while cleaning James's things from the attic, I found a box labeled 1994-1995 in his handwriting. Inside was a manila envelope. Sarah's 10th birthday, June 1994. My heart stopped. I'd forgotten about these pictures entirely. James had taken his camera to the party but hadn't developed the film until weeks later, after our family had already imploded. With shaking hands, I opened the envelope. The first few photos were typical party shots. But then I saw them. 3 clear, undeniable photographs of Sarah wearing the pearl necklace. In the first, I was fastening the clasp around her neck while she held a mirror. In the second, Sarah was turning to show James the necklace, face radiant with joy. In the third, Linda was in the frame too, smiling as she watched her daughter model the pearls. The photos were time-stamped June 18th, 1994. 2 weeks before Linda accused me of making up the story. I stared until my eyes blurred with tears. For 22 years, I'd wondered if I was losing my mind. These photographs proved every detail I'd remembered was true. But instead of feeling vindicated, I felt hollow. Someone had coached that 10-year-old to lie and painted me as the villain. Could have confronted them then. But something held me back. Maybe it was pride. I'd survived 22 years of being treated like a confused old woman. Maybe it was strategy. Rushing into confrontation was how I'd lost my family the first time. Or maybe I'd developed a taste for the long game. I put those photographs in a safe deposit box and waited for the perfect moment. That moment came last month at Sarah's 40th birthday party. Sarah had done well. Senior partner at a prestigious law firm, house in the best neighborhood, 2 teenage daughters. The party was at Chez Laurent, the city's most expensive restaurant, 30 guests in cocktail attire. I chose a seat at the far end of the table where I could observe, without being drawn into conversation. I'd perfected the art of being present, but peripheral. Sarah looked stunning in her black dress and expensive jewelry. She held court, telling stories about her cases, her daughter's achievements, the family's vacation to Italy. During dinner, she launched into a story about representing a widow trying to recover family jewelry, misplaced by relatives. "It's amazing how family heirlooms just vanish," Sarah said, sipping wine. "People's memories get fuzzy, or they convince themselves valuable items were never as important as they seemed." The irony was thick enough to choke on. After the main course, David stood to toast his wife, talking about her integrity and how she'd taught their daughters that honesty was the foundation of relationships. Then Sarah stood to respond, slightly flushed from wine and attention. "Family is everything to me," she began. "I've learned from the strong women in this family that the most valuable thing you can give someone is the truth, even when it's difficult." She looked directly at me. "I've seen what happens when people let pride or fear drive them to deception. It poisons everything it touches." I felt something cold settle in my stomach as she continued about trust and integrity. After dinner came the presents. David's final gift was a velvet box containing stunning black Tahitian pearls. "I know how much you love pearls," he said. Sarah gasped as she lifted the necklace. "They're incredible!" Linda gushed about how beautiful they were. "You've always loved pearls. Even as a little girl, you'd play dress-up and pretend my costume jewelry were real family heirlooms." Sarah laughed, fastening the necklace. "I was such a dramatic child. I probably told everyone we had priceless jewelry hidden away." She turned to her daughters. "Let this be a lesson. If you want real pearls, work hard and marry well. Don't count on inheriting family treasures. They have a way of disappearing." That's when I stood up. The room gradually fell silent as 30 pairs of eyes turned toward me. I reached into my purse and pulled out the manila envelope. "Actually, Sarah," I said, my voice carrying clearly, "you did receive real family pearls once, pearls that had been in our family for 5 generations." The temperature dropped 10 degrees. Sarah's hand flew to her throat. "Grandma Margaret, I think there might be some confusion." "No confusion," I interrupted, opening the envelope. "You received my great-great-grandmother Emma's pearls on your 10th birthday. Do you remember?" Linda was making frantic gestures, trying to get me to stop, but Sarah lifted her chin defiantly. "Grandma, your memory might be playing tricks. You never gave me any family jewelry." "Are you certain?" I asked, pulling out the first photograph. I held it up so everyone could see. 10-year-old Sarah wearing the pearls, face radiant as I fastened the clasp. The silence was deafening. "June the 18th, 1994, I said. 2 weeks before your mother accused me of making up the story. I placed the second photo on the table, Sarah showing the necklace to the camera, Linda visible in the background, smiling. The third photo joined the others, Sarah touching the pearls with reverent fingers. Sarah's face had gone white. Her daughters stared at the photos in shock. "Mom?" Emma whispered. "Is that really you?" David studied the time-stamped photos with his financial analyst's eye. "These look authentic." Sarah's voice cracked. "Those pictures, I don't remember." "You don't remember the jewelry box that played Für Elise? The story about Emma, hiding the pearls in her coat? Your promise to take care of them?" Sarah's composure cracked like ice. "I need to explain." "For 30 years, I continued, I've been treated like a confused old woman. 30 years of being excluded, of watching you grow up from a distance, of having my own children question my sanity." Sarah's face crumpled, and she began to sob, not delicate tears, but wrenching sobs of someone whose world was collapsing. "Oh God, Grandma Margaret, I remember everything." Linda shot to her feet. "Sarah, don't." "No, Mom. I can't do this anymore. I'm 40 years old, and I've been carrying this lie for 30 years. Through her tears, the truth finally came out. Sarah had worn the pearls to school for show and tell against Linda's instructions. During recess, another child grabbed them. The clasp broke, and the pearls scattered across the playground gravel. They found maybe half of them. When I got home, Mom saw the broken necklace and lost it. She said we couldn't afford to have them restrung, that you'd never forgive us. She said it would be easier if I just said I never received them. "Easier for everyone," I repeated bitterly. Mom coached me on what to say. She said it would be temporary, until she figured out how to explain. But when you came over so sure about the necklace, and Mom started talking about you being confused, it spiraled out of control. So you let me think I was losing my mind. I was 10. I was terrified you would hate me for destroying something that had been in our family for 100 years. I looked at Linda. "And your excuse?" "You were 28, not 10. Linda's voice was barely audible. "I was terrified of disappointing you. When Sarah came home with those broken pearls scattered on the table, I couldn't face telling you what happened. So you made me the villain. I never meant for it to go on so long. But once everyone started believing you were having memory issues, it became impossible to take back. The restaurant had become a courtroom. 30 years of family dysfunction finally exposed. The party ended in chaos. Guests made uncomfortable excuses and left early. David gathered his daughters and left without saying goodbye, his face a mask of betrayal. Sarah sat alone, staring at the photographs that had finally revealed the truth. "What happens now?" she called as I reached the door. "Now you live with the consequences," I said, the same way I have for 30 years. Over the following months, our family began the painful process of rebuilding. Sarah called daily, sometimes crying, sometimes sharing suppressed memories, always asking for forgiveness. I wasn't ready to give. David filed for separation, not because of the pearls, but because he discovered his wife had been keeping a family-destroying secret their entire marriage. Emma and Claire were caught in the middle, trying to process that their moral compass had been built on deception. They started calling me more, asking about real family history. "Do you think Mom is a bad person?" Emma asked during one call. "No, sweetheart. I think she made a bad choice as a child, then more bad choices trying to cover it up. Sometimes good people do terrible things because they're afraid." 6 months later, Sarah took leave from her law firm. The stress was affecting her work, and estate planning requires trust she was struggling to maintain. We talk now, Sarah and I, carefully, like walking through a minefield of shared history. We're trying to build something new from the wreckage, but trust broken for 30 years doesn't heal easily. The replica pearls Sarah had made sit in my jewelry box. Beautiful but hollow. They look like the originals, but carry none of the history that made the real ones precious. The original pearls are still out there, scattered under what's now a shopping center. Emma's prayers, Ruth's faith, Catherine's strength, all lost because a child was afraid and a mother was too proud. But the real treasure was never the jewelry. It was the stories, the connection between generations, the understanding that we're part of something larger than ourselves. Emma and Claire call regularly, now, hungry for family stories kept from them by 30 years of lies. I tell them everything, the good and the painful, because protecting people from difficult truths doesn't protect them at all. The photographs sit on my mantle now, reminders not of vindication but of the cost of deception and the value of truth. Sometimes, patience is its own kind of power, but justice that takes 30 years to arrive often comes with its own pain. The revenge I'd imagined was sweeter than the reality, watching a family crumble under the weight of long-buried lies. We're all still healing, still learning to navigate relationships built on honesty instead of careful omissions. It's slow work, but it's honest work, and sometimes honesty is more valuable than harmony. Share your story below. Have you ever carried a lie that grew too big to confess? Have you waited years to prove a truth that mattered? Sometimes the most powerful justice is simply letting facts speak for themselves. But the cost of that justice might be higher than we ever imagined.